Hello and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch, and we are pumped to be with you on Tuesday, March 15th for this episode of the Smart Chiropractor Show. If you have not subscribed and you are checking this out on YouTube or Facebook, please make sure your notifications are turned on. You are subscribed so you don't miss a single segment of our shows, and we have a fantastic show coming up today. Jason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just a reminder, everybody, tune in every Tuesday to tune in and tune up your practice and your life. Jeff and I are here each and every week to really open up and share with you the smartest ideas in the profession. And for the most part, we're not talking clinically necessarily the smartest ideas. I know there's a lot of technique gurus who are a lot smarter in that particular category than the two of us. But when it comes to marketing, when it comes to communication, when it comes to vision, when it comes to understanding, how do we bring this profession to the masses? How do we create a collective network of chiropractors who are long-term thinkers, who understand that the profession is more than just, I need more new patients today, but is really a gift to the world, and yet find that contradiction and struggle in trying to reconcile, how do I make a good living for myself and my family while also contributing to the greater good of building and growing the profession in a positive way that is to all of our benefit. That is something that I don't think the profession has quite yet nailed. If you think otherwise, I'd love to hear it and understand why, but we're here each and every Tuesday with great segments to make sure that if you are like us, that together we're able to get where we all want to go. I'm excited for today's show. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, Jeff.
I love it. I am super excited as well. I got my show notes right here. I'm going to pre-frame what we're going to be talking about on today's episode. We're kicking off in just a moment, talking mindset, and we're going to focus on Simon Sinek. Then we're getting into clinical conversations. If you're interested in functional spinal imaging, we have a special presentation from Axis 2021 that we're going to showcase today. Our monthly campaign and research that matters, all about sports chiropractic. We're talking about pro sports testimonials and some of the sports interviews that we've done. Member highlights Dr. James Chapman of Dynamic Chiropractic and Rehab, utilizing his smart chiropractor tools in a very unique way. Our guest interview, Dr. Jerome Fryer, Dynamic Disc Designs. You've probably seen the models throughout the world and certainly on set here within the Smart Chiropractor. We have a great conversation with him, and he is a character, so stay tuned for that one. Strategic marketing, we're talking about weekly email newsletters, one of the most powerful tools you can utilize in business principles, stabilizing your revenue. When you think about recurring revenue, what kind of percentages should you be considering? And we're going to accomplish all of that on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Let's kick it off with Mindset Mentor coming at you right now. Smart Chiropractor Show, March 15th, 2022. It is our Mindset Mentor segment. We lead off every Smart Chiropractor Show with this segment because it is imperative. It's where everything else stems from. You have to have that why, a little lead in there, before you get to the how. And Jason, we're going to talk a little bit about Simon Sinek today. Let docs know what they should be paying attention to when you think about the infinite game.
Well, mindset matters. It's been said to me, my early mentors have always sort of drilled into my mind that who you are determines how well what you do works, right? Because you can give the same tactics to 10 different people and they'll get 10 different results. So the question is, what's the difference, right? Is it the tactics? No, they're the same tactics, same instructions. But why is it different? Is it just their community? Well, maybe partially. That may have something to do with it. But the overwhelming number one common denominator for what makes some people thrive and others not so much when information is everywhere is how you think. How you think determines your attitude. It determines your stamina. It determines your goals and whether you're thinking short-term or long-term. And that is my segment to get into today's book. It is a book by Simon Sinek. You may have heard him. His book before was Start With Why, just over there in my bookcase. His new book is The Infinite Game. I take the paper off, so I'll just show it to you that way. The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And, you know, Simon has done a really nice job articulating something we have been really doing our best to communicate. We've said it before. You may have heard us in lectures in different formats saying, there's a difference between the way a hunter thinks and the way a farmer thinks. They're just different ways of thinking. The good news for hunters is you go out, you hopefully find what you're hunting, you kill it, you eat it, quick relief, measurable results, and good to go, right? That seems like a terrific thing. And in some cases it is. But that is different than the way the farmer thinks. The farmer is somebody who plants seeds, understands natural law, and is already prepared to have the patience for the process, understanding that you don't plant a seed today and check next week and the week after and the week after and the week after to see if it's working. And if you don't see any results in the few weeks that you're looking at, you don't go, well, farming doesn't work. No, it's a different mindset. And when it comes to communication, when it comes to marketing, those two types of thinking really are important for us to analyze and understand for ourselves. Much of what we're talking about here is based on Jeff and I's experience that as we put out our information of the Smart Chiropractor and as we talk about the word marketing, most chiropractors, most businesses confuse the word marketing with the word advertising and end up applying a short-term consciousness to something that actually can be and should be also a long-term process. So I'm going to read a few things. I'm not a big fan of reading, but he says it so well. Hopefully I'll do a good enough job to keep you interested. Let me just read a few notes of the book, then we'll break it down and talk. And if you've got comments, if you like, don't like, if you agree, disagree, if you're confused or got questions, leave your comments down below. This show is not just us talking at you. It is a conversation that we have together. So here we go. Simon writes, he goes, for all its benefits, acting with an infinite long-term view is not easy. It takes real effort. And that's one of the reasons why people don't do it so much. As human beings, we are naturally inclined to seek out immediate solutions to uncomfortable problems and prioritize quick wins to advance our ambitions. We tend to see the world in terms of success and failure, winners and losers. And this default win-lose mode can sometimes work for the short term. However, as a strategy for how companies and organizations operate, it can have grave consequences over the long term. That's kind of true. When you think about, there's no shortage of chiropractors putting some message out into the world to get more new patients now. But the question is that the same message that we collectively as a profession would say that's an accurate description of what we really do? And oftentimes I find that's the conflict. We say one thing to get them in, but we believe something slightly different as it relates to what our hopes and dreams are for what people really understand. That's a contradiction that if it's not corrected, will continue to be an issue and problem for our profession and your practice in the long run. Going back, he says, the results of this default mindset are all too familiar. He puts it in the language, not hunters and farmers, but he calls it finite thinking versus infinite thinking. And he sort of describes like eating too many desserts in the name of enjoying life, right? Quick relief, quick enjoyment, immediate gratification. Who doesn't love it? We all do. But eating too many desserts in the name of enjoying life only to make oneself diabetic in the process. Right? So what is the long-term consequence of the type of probably deep discount advertising many are doing? It's not that anything's wrong with it in the short term, but if all you're focused on is that short term, the question is, what are the consequences in the long term if you don't also have more that does accurately reflect / teach and invite your audience about what it is that you really do and what it is you really want them to understand about what you do. So let me go on. The choice to lead with an infinite mindset is less like preparing for a football game, as in a specific event. This is the conversation of I've got measurable ROIs and what's the word I'm looking for? Key
performance indicators.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And it's more like getting in shape, right? Getting in shape. And we teach this to our clients. We're like, getting in shape is a process. And people can do it different ways, but you can't just go to the gym for 9 hours and get in shape. What it takes is 20 minutes a day, every day. And so this is one of those write this down type of a statements. The statement is that consistency becomes more important than intensity with your infinite thinking. That's an important thing as it relates to your marketing. You can be intense. Wow, I need more new patients now. Numbers are down. Money is due. We have to get X amount in X a period of time. That's a finite goal you have, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if all you focus on is those finite goals, there will be a consequence. He describes marketing and, basically this infinite way of thinking more like getting in shape. And to that point, he says the problem is no one knows exactly when you're going to see results. In fact, different people are going to show different results at different times. But the one thing and I know you know this, is that if you do 20 minutes a day consistently every day, there's no question that 100% of the time it will work. We don't know how quick you're going to see results. It depends on who you are, your history, and what combination of different things you do. It's not one thing you do to get in shape. It's a multitude of factors that help you get into shape, just like marketing and communicating your message to your practice. It's not just deep discount ads. There's a lot more to it. And that's what we talk about. So though we may have finite fitness goals we want to reach, if we want to be as healthy as possible, believe this is a business guru, not a chiropractor, right? If you want to have the best, be as healthy as possible, it's the lifestyle we adopt that matters more than whether or not we hit our goal on some sort of arbitrary date that we set. With any health goals, there are certain things we have to do. Eat more veggies, work out on a regular basis, get enough sleep. He should probably know to add, stay well adjusted, stay aligned. And adopting an infinite mindset is the exact same thing. Isn't it ironic how the things we're actually teaching the people who come to us about being patient with the process, building a personalized lifestyle plan to help you get well and stay well over time, is in fact the exact same philosophy we should be adopting when it comes to communicating, or what we call teaching and inviting consistently, TIC, teaching and inviting consistently over time. This is part of an infinite mindset. So let's get more tactical, because this I found super interesting. He says any leader who wants to adopt an infinite mindset must follow 5 essential practices. 5 essential practices. I'm going to list the 5. I'll go into a little bit of detail on each one afterwards, and then we'll wrap up this segment. So, number 1, he says the number 1 thing to be a leader with an infinite mindset is to advance a just cause. Not any cause, but a just cause. I'll get into detail what that means in a moment. So number 1, advance a just cause. Number 2, you have to build trusting teams. Number 3, you've got to study your worthy rivals. 4, prepare for existential flexibility. And 5, demonstrate the courage to lead. So he acknowledges, and we are acknowledging, that maintaining an infinite mindset is hard, in some cases very hard. And it's expected that you'll stray. Again, think about it. Getting in shape, building a healthy lifestyle is difficult. We all fall off the wagon. We want an extra dessert. We miss a day of working out, whatever. We don't get enough sleep for whatever the reasons are. But we know the answer to the question is, okay, it's in the long-term consistency that we're always going to see our long-term results. And it's going to happen. It's not something that you want to beat yourself up on. It's to probably be expected, hopefully limited. A just cause is a specific vision of a future state that does not yet exist. A just cause is a specific vision of a future state that does not exist. A future state so appealing that people are willing to make sacrifices in order to help advance toward that vision. He goes on to say, and this applies to your staff and your team as much as it does to what you teach your community about health, wellness, and well-being. Finite businesses, people like their jobs. They like their care. But infinite businesses, people love their jobs. People love their care. People love their chiropractor. We've all experienced that difference. So I found it fascinating to sort of break down. It's about having this just cause or this bigger vision that people can subscribe to, people that can enjoy and typically often believe themselves, but didn't know you believe it too. So a just cause gives people a reason to come bigger than just the obvious. In other words, people will come to you for more than just quick relief. People will work with you for more than just a paycheck. A just cause is not the same thing as our why. This is a great distinction. We've talked about why. Sinek's past book was Start with Why. But the visual to think about is that your why is metaphorically the foundation of your house. It's what it's built upon. Our just cause is our vision for what we hopefully build on top of that. Awesome distinction. We have to have a foundation. We have to have a why, a purpose, a passion, a reason for why we do what we do. But it's our just cause that shares the blueprint of what's possible. I thought that was a phenomenal distinction. We'll dig into that as we close this segment. It's the just cause that we're working to advance that gives our work and our lives meaning, significance. And then once you know your just cause, you look for as many people as possible who want to join you in this cause. And he does a great, interesting example for the metaphor. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Let's make it practical and something that applies to all of us, probably especially now. He says, think about the United States and our founding fathers. They wrote, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and that we are endowed with certain unalienable rights, that among these are the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, the vision they set forth was not just one of borders, but one of an ideal future state defined by principles of liberty and equality for all. I thought that was interesting. We're in a new country. It's America. Here are the borders. Well, that's not just it. He says, July 4th, 1776. Think about this. Being back under those circumstances, 56 men mutually pledged to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So a just cause must have the following things. Number one, a just cause must be for something. It has to be inclusive. It has to be service-oriented. It has to be resilient, and it has to be idealistic. I'm going to dig down a little bit deeper in what those things mean. These are really important, I think, write this down type ideas. Because if it's for something, that means it's affirmative and optimistic. It's about feeling inspired. And one of the great distinctions he brings up is instead of fighting poverty, we can be for the right of every human being to provide for their own family. It's such an important distinction because for many decades, people have promoted chiropractic by being anti-medicine, okay? And that's a perfect example of not a just cause. We have to find a vision that people want to aspire to, not just facts and reality about why the current system is broken, damaging, dangerous, etc. Two, it has to be inclusive, which means it has to be open to all who would like to contribute. Humans crave connection and belonging, so inviting others of like mind to be a part of something is an essential part of your just cause. And we reviewed Seth Godin's book in the past, This is Marketing. The statement that he said, you'll probably hear us say it over and over again. He gets the credit, but we're going to use it. And that is, people like us do things like this. That's a way of saying we're inclusive. Here's what we believe. Here's our aspiration. And if you are like us, join us. You're invited to be part of our movement. It has to be service-oriented, which means it has to be for the primary benefit of other people. And there's two parts to that. There's always the giver or the contributor and the receiver. This is an important one because a lot of chiropractors are generous in spirit, but are needy in reality. We're going to address that. And until you recognize that servant leadership means that the primary benefit is for the receiver, not the giver, you're going to find yourself in a trap, an important part. Next, I mentioned it has to be resilient. It has to be able to endure political, technological, and cultural change. You must have something greater than just the sum of its parts that's going to be able to last over time. So saying our products and services are to advance the cause, they are not the cause themselves. That is a huge distinction. And it's something that all of us should pay attention. I wish I could go into this in deep detail because we confuse the idea that the cause is chiropractic. And many times we teach and explain chiropractor, what are you? I'm a chiropractor. What do you do? I provide chiropractic care. And we think it's our service that's the cause. And it's not. Our products and services advance the just cause, which means we really should be focusing on the cause, because when people understand what they are aspiring to have, then our products and services become the tool and vehicle to help them get to that. Huge distinction. Next, so some examples of that, and I'll wrap up in just a moment. The railroad business thought they were in the transportation business, thought they were in the railroad business, right? Remember this, learned this in business school. I learned it in marketing school. The railroad business was in the railroad business. It's why they don't continue to dominate what they should have thought about, which is that they were in the transportation business. Railroads at the time were the most advanced technology. As the technology advanced and they didn't, as we had cars and airplanes and everything else, the railroad business was stuck. So you want to think about what business you're in as more infinite. Another example, if publishers, book publishers, thought of themselves they think of themselves in the book business, which was a mistake, because what we've seen change over time is those that are in the spreading ideas business. And if they thought of themselves as the spreading ideas business, they probably would have invented Amazon itself or the ebook reader or some internet technology that helps people consume those books. They would have evolved and lasted. And many people know the book publishing business is in a lot of trouble because people aren't reading physical paper the same way they are digital. Lastly, it's got to be idealistic. It's got to be big, bold, and interestingly enough, ultimately unachievable. It sounds counterintuitive, but here's what they're saying. If the founders of the United States only set out to win independence, right? We want to be independent. If that was their sole focus and goal, that achievement, then once they got their independence, they would have gone, okay, let's have a beer. We got it. We did it, right? We can chill, mission accomplished. But that's not what they did. Instead, they sought out to write the Constitution. And that was designed to further codify a set of enduring principles to protect and advance their big, bold, idealistic vision of the future. So our just cause, Jeff and I and the Smart Chiropractor, as I was thinking about learning, okay, what's our just cause? How do we apply those requirements in what we're doing? I just put this together, Jeff. We'll play with this over time as we're sort of learning the model, applying the model. But our just cause is to share the story that we have the innate ability to heal ourselves that is far more powerful than what we're told. That's the big vision. That's what people really should be thinking about. Not just that chiropractic is another therapy, another treatment covered by your insurance, but that they have an innate ability to heal themselves far greater than anybody else is sharing with them and telling them. And we invite, right? We're inclusive. We invite all smart chiropractors who also have this sort of infinite mindset, a long-term goal to join us. And we do that by providing our done-for-you automated content marketing service that cost us tens of thousands of dollars each and every month to create the first one. We invite all of you to join us. We want you to use these tools to advance your cause. That is the point. That's what it's here for, so that you can have a smarter community of people who believe what you believe, who believe what we believe. And you can count on us continually adapting to whatever new technologies are out there. We're already thinking metaverse, so that ultimately we stay relevant and we stay proactive. We believe in a healthier, more powerful future through healthier, more powerful people. And if you believe what we believe, hopefully you'll be smart and you'll continue to join us on this journey. I thought it was a great book. My takeaway, this first sort of major chapter of the Just Cause, what inspired me the most. I know there's 4 other components to having an infinite thinking about building your team and being all those other things, but this inspired me, and I thought it was completely relevant to really what we're doing, and also a great way of articulating to other chiropractors. As I said when we opened this, people think marketing and they think advertising, and we get a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I'm interested in your services. When are you going to run deep discount ads to just send deal shoppers into my practice because I need more new patients now and I'm too busy to do anything?" That's a different finite mindset than what it is that we're talking about. And hopefully in the last few minutes, you got a good idea that we are infinite thinkers. We have a greater vision than just a few new patients in your practice. Now, one important distinction I want to make, because there's what I say and what is heard. And I remember my mentor, one of my many mentors, Guy Reekman, always saying, he was always talking about vitalism versus mechanism. And he'd always teach about the vitalistic principles versus the mechanistic principles. And he always made it a point to say that vitalistic principles include mechanism, but mechanistic principles do not include vitalism. And I want to just make sure it's very clear for everybody listening that infinite thinking includes finite thinking. You can run your advertisements. You can have your key indicators. You can have specific measurable goals in the short term, but you also have the infinite mindset to understand how those actions affect your long-term consequences. So I just want to make sure it is not one or the other. You don't have to be only a hunter or only a farmer. You can do both. But if you understand the limitations of hunting exclusively and why the world evolved to farming, because of sustainability, because of scale, because of your ability to do a lot more predictably, as opposed to the unpredictable, yes, immediate gratification, but the animals are smart. So once they've figured out your hunting strategy, things change. Just like the market is smart. Once you found a good advertising campaign that works, you'll find in time it doesn't always work so well over time. Things change, people adapt, other people find your secret, apply it themselves. It becomes confusing. That's my summary for the infinite game. We're playing it. We hope you will too. Jeff, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
That is a great kickoff to today's Smart Chiropractor show. I love where you started when you were discussing consistency and how that is so critical, and then showcasing the differences between your why and your just cause. And I'm going to encourage everybody listening and watching to do a couple of different things. Number one, be sure to subscribe or enable your notifications so you can continue to see every segment of the show. And number two, rewind and listen again. There is so much meat to dive into on what Jason just talked about, and we're going to have some follow-up episodes talking about those other 4 components. So if that wet your whistle, please stay tuned for our upcoming Mindset Mentor segments, where we discuss more about one of probably the best books that's been released in a little while, and most importantly, the messages that you can take away for the benefit of your practice and your community. Jason, fantastic job. Looks like you have some comments there. Go for it.
Well, I just want to invite everybody. This is, as I said before, a dialogue. It's a conversation. So if there's something you heard that sort of struck a nerve, struck a chord, touched your heart, this is a process. We're in this together. That is what we're trying to say. So if you've got a vision that is larger than just yourself, and I hope you do, leave it down below. Connect with us, engage with us, share. It's always been said that, thoughts are wonderful, but when you put thoughts into writing, that's even more powerful. And when you put that writing in front of other people, that becomes even more powerful. And that's very much what we're doing here, is building a tribe of like-minded infinite game thinkers. So I want to just invite you, if you've got a thought, you've got a vision, you've got an ideal, drop it down below. Let us all share. And if you see somebody's vision, be kind. There's no need to be critical. That's not it. This is it. I know chiropractors have a tendency to be somewhat self-critical amongst each other. Let's all share and see what we can come up with collectively. I got a feeling this might be something that might turn all of us on. I'm sure there's somebody out there that is thinking something so powerful that share it. Don't be shy. Be bold. We're sharing ours. You share yours. I'll show you mine. If you show me yours, well, that's a different game. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Let's have some fun. Let's see what you got to say about all this.
Yeah, putting those visions out into the universe is a critical step. You got to put that energy out to have that energy come back in. So do not hesitate, as Jason suggested, to drop those visions down below. Let people know what's on your mind, what you see for your future, and how you can impact people's lives, literally, as some chiropractors are doing right now around the world. Great kickoff, Jason. Love that start to our Smart Chiropractor show on March 15th. Let's head over to our clinical conversation next. Smart Chiropractor Show. It is time for Clinical Conversations, and this is the segment where we take a moment and highlight. We've been highlighting a lot of our Access presenters from 2021. Access was our online event that was clinically focused, happened in 2021. We're going to have some announcements coming up for Access 2022, so stay tuned for that. And on today's episode, we're highlighting a talk that was given by Nick Lancaster of AOMZ Diagnostics. Full transparency, I'm involved in AOMZ Diagnostics, but he discusses functional spinal imaging. If that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned for a little teaser, a little preview of what Nick Lancaster talked about in Access 2021.
Hi, docs. Welcome to the Access Online event. My name is Nick Lancaster. I'm the CEO and managing partner for AOMZ Diagnostics. Excited to talk a little bit about AOMZ today and the vertebral motion analysis technology that we offer. So a couple different things. AOMZ, as you guys are probably familiar with, acronym that stands for Alteration of Motion Segment Integrity. Something that we're very excited about from a motion study and a functional analysis. A little bit of background here on myself. I've been in the orthopedics world for about 10 years, worked in spine medical device and also spine surgery. I am not a physician. I am more on the business operations side and technology standpoint. But some of the interesting things around the VMA and the vertebral motion analysis, it was actually started and originated in the surgical space. And so determining between decompression and fusion was one of the big applications for the functional analysis and for vertebral motion analysis. Now, what we've done is we've actually extrapolated that, taken the same technology principles, but really found a unique niche in the conservative space. So the functional analysis, understanding the vertebral translation, angulation, and disc height, specifically when it comes to chiropractic and pain management, outside of just the surgical space. So certainly some exciting topics over the next 35, 40 minutes or so. So excited to share some information on the vertebral motion analysis and VMA that we offer at AOMZ Diagnostics. So getting started here, you're going to see actually the picture on your screen is going to be a picture of the VMA itself. It is attached to a full-size C-arm. And it's going to go through a full flexion and full extension. So we'll get into some of the specifics on the technology and how the exam works as we get started. Just to start, the basics of what we look at for the ideal patient with the VMA, vertebral motion analysis, are really going to be any patients that have had an injury in the cervical or the lumbar spine. To date, we don't do any thoracic as far as the imaging. As you all know, if there's any type of motion that occurs in the thoracic region, probably have a bigger issue. So right now it is just cervical and lumbar. It's a dynamic weight-bearing motion study of the spine. So again, we're going to talk quite a bit about functional analysis. So it's much different than your flexion extension because those are going to be static, right? Just those static images. Where AOMZ currently, we do have access to bring the technology to providers' offices. So we actually bring the equipment, the C-arm, and also the rad tech to providers' offices. So there's zero footprint that is left once we get done scanning. So really the only thing that we have to do is gather the patients, scan the patients at the particular time, and we move from there. And why? We're going to talk quite a bit about this, but really building a bulletproof medical chart to illustrate objective proof of injury. And that's really the bread and butter for the VMA and the functional analysis that we provide. So moving on, this is kind of the understanding of what I call the three-legged stool for us. So really what we've got is we have the patient, the doctor, and the attorney. We do a lot of work in the personal injury space with the VMA and the functional analysis. For the patient, complete assessment of the spinal injuries, right? It's lower radiation. It really takes about 10 to 15 minutes for each scan, whether that be cervical or lumbar, in-office availability, and cutting-edge technology. Again, we're going to be, talking a lot about the technology and how it applies. And the biggest thing here that we talk about is going to be right in the middle, which is the objective proof of injury. So when it comes to the doctor side, as you guys can see, billable CPT codes with written AMA guidance, objective data supporting your treatment plans, correlation with the AMA disability guidelines, and it doubles the objective proof of spinal injury. And so what we look at here is spinal instability. And what we're going to dive into is really going to be, from a flexion extension standpoint, there's a lot that's missed. And actually with the VMA, we're going to have much higher sensitivity to pick up that instability, and not surgical instability, but something that we could term as being clinically significant instability of the spine. A lot of times we have providers that will have patients that will come in with minimal findings, either on an MRI or an X-ray. However, the patient's still in pain. They're sitting, standing, the pain goes away, but as they start to walk, as they start to move around, that's where that pain comes back. And so that's what we're going to dive into and what we've seen as far as the functional imaging and what the proof of injury would be on that side as well. Third leg of that stool is going to be the attorney, right? So demonstrative proof of injury at trial drives higher settlements, medically proven technology. Again, as we talked about, this was actually developed in the surgical space. So we do have about 10 years worth of medical literature that actually supports the accuracy, specificity, and reliability of the VMA functionality and the data that is driven by the VMA scan. So moving forward, again, game-changing technology. The VMA, again, standing for vertebral motion analysis, detects instability at higher rates. It really helps doctors reverse denials as well. We utilize the VMA from the private health insurance space as well. A lot of our providers either being denied care, whether that be an epidural steroid injection, a radiofrequency ablation, or a surgery, even from the chiropractic end as well, additional treatment that may be necessary. The VMA, by showcasing that there is injury that takes place, justifies that additional care. Easily integrates into the clinical workflow, and stronger science than today's tests. So really, as we talk about today's test that we're comparing to, are going to be, the flexion extension X-ray. So again, that particular data goes back into the 1940s, right? And so as we talk about flexion extension, there's really a gap that takes place. Flexion extension is great, and X-rays are great at determining, what's going on in the particular spine. But really, if we think about the flexion extension X-ray, it's a flexion, it's an extension, and it's a neutral image, and from our standpoint, what happens in between? That's a big gap from the functional side. And really, as we stand today, understanding what's going on between that flexion and between that extension is really where, the patient benefits and the provider benefits, because of the fact that now we're able to understand exactly what's going on through that full flexion and full extension. And lastly, lower radiation to the patient. So there are studies that have been done with the VMA as well. It's a remarkably different. It's about 30% less radiation than a traditional flexion extension X-ray. So again, all of these things add up into, the VMA should be a crucial part of a provider's Rolodex and certainly of, patient care, because again, we're getting better data to drive better clinical decisions. So again, let's talk a little bit about the flexion extension. The flexion extension X-ray has significant limitations. So as we talk about, it's prescribed quite a bit. It's still the standard of care, prescribed about 5 million times per year. That's higher volume than a spine MRI or CT combined. So that's really remarkable considering the technology. The flexion extension still impacts, great amount of decisions. Again, we talk about surgeries here, 1.9 million surgeries per year. But there's significant issues with the flexion extension X-ray, right? So it's dated. The technology goes back to the 1940s. It's highly variable and subjective. One of the biggest studies that has been done to talk a little bit on the flexion extension side is Punjabi and White, right? And you can see the quote there saying that no useful information can be derived from the flexion extension procedure, especially in relation to the need of a surgical fusion. That's powerful, but as we talk, back in some of those previous bullet points, but it's still being prescribed. And so again, there's still a lot of value for the flexion extension, not to discredit that, but certainly a lot of gaps. And that's what we're talking, about as we dig deeper into the VMA technology, is understanding those gaps and where the VMA is really going to be able to provide some solutions for providers and more importantly, solutions for patients so that they can better understand what's going on, with their particular body, with their injuries, and really get a better solution to what exactly is causing my pain. And so we can drive better clinical decisions based off of that data. So as we talk a little bit about, an alternative to the flexion extension X-ray. So as you can see here, the VMA actually will assist the patient through a full flexion and full extension.
All right. And that is a little bit of a presentation from Nick Lancaster on functional spinal imaging from Axis 2021. I'm excited about the future of spinal imaging because there is so much. Nick started to lay out some of that there. If you were at Axis 2021, you heard it all. But there's so much advancement in technology, whether we're shooting films weight bearing, that's beneficial. Of course, if we're able to shoot them through a full range of motion, that's even better because now we start to really dynamically understand what each individual is dealing with. I'll just tell kind of a personal story on this. About 30% of the individuals I saw, and I get this feedback from every doc I speak with as well, 30% of individuals in the personal injury realm specifically, they've been involved in trauma, right? There's a traumatic accident. They might have some radiculopathy, some pain traveling down the arm or the leg. But when they lie down, their scan of as far as an MRI comes back pretty clean. But when they get upright and moving, they complain that when they're at work, they're feeling the symptomatology and it doesn't match up with the imaging. That's frustrating for the patient, the provider, and certainly if there's an attorney involved. So getting that individual up in weight bearing, understanding the dynamics of what's going on with the segment throughout the full range of flexion extension can be incredibly impactful. You can check out more at aomzdiagnostics.com if you're interested. And again, please keep your ears tuned because we're going to be releasing information for Axis 2022 in the not too distant future. And I am excited about that. Jason, functional spinal imaging might not be the world that you live in each and every day, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm all for the concept of it. I mean, the reality is we are moving, and this is not just a static thing. And X-rays are wonderful to show the long-term effects of neglected spinal motion, and therefore you can see basically the accumulation of the trauma. But as you said, if you're looking at what's here, what's now, what's up, you want to see somebody in motion, in movement, and X-rays don't really do that. And I'm not sure any other technology besides visual digital X-ray these days really offers you that insight, whether it's for legal purposes or whether it's really for people to go, wow, I never knew that worked that way before. That's my spine. It becomes, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I think maybe a video these days, I haven't heard this statement, but a video might be worth 10,000 words. It just shows people, who they are and what they're up to. It's as detailed and specific to that person as possible. Super cool stuff.
Thank you. I think the key word there is demonstrative. I was trying to come up with it the whole time. And that being able to showcase exactly what's going on when somebody's going about their daily activities, incredibly powerful, Jason. Well put. I could not agree more. And docs out there, please stay tuned again for Axis 2022. We're going to have some information on that coming up very, very soon. But for right now, we're going to talk about our research that matters piece of our Smart Chiropractor show on today's episode. Let's get over there right now. Hello and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor show. It is time for Research That Matters. Let's bring that up on the screen right there. Research That Matters is when we take a few moments each and every week to talk about what our smart chiropractors are talking about. In the Smart Chiropractor, we always look at this, all marketing, all communication, through a lens of teach and invite consistently. We accomplish that by having monthly campaigns, weekly topics, and daily posts. And if you've been following Smart Chiropractor show this month, you probably know that our monthly campaign is all about sports chiropractic, and we believe there's an athlete in everybody out there. So it's not always about pro athletics, but this week it is. Our weekly topic is all about Be Like Mike, how you can reach your full potential. And our docs are getting out across all of their platforms, email, social, Google Business, LinkedIn, preview of what we'll be looking at with our member highlight in just a few moments. And they are showcasing perhaps the best social proof out there that the highest level athletes in the world rely and utilize chiropractic at an uncanny level. It's mind-blowing to me. 15% general population utilization, 95% athlete and elite athlete utilization. What is the gap there? And some of that comes down, interestingly, as Jason and I have been conducting a lot of interviews with some of the highest level sports chiropractors out there, that there's actually a focus in many of these professional athletes on performance rather than pain. Now, I don't know if that's obvious or ironic, but it's interesting to put that together because I think the natural default is, hey, in a big business, $1 billion business of sports performance, it's probably super regimented, very mechanical about pain. And the irony is, very rarely is the chiropractor utilized for pain relief. They have an entire team of specialists and individuals that do a great job with that. This allows the chiropractor to focus on recovery and performance. I have found that fascinating. Jason, what were your thoughts?
I agree. The assumption would be, and the common sense would be, that athletes use chiropractic care to recover from their injuries. But as you said, we've spoken to, in fact, the head of the Professional Football Chiropractic Society, and we've spoken to several individual chiropractors of pro teams. And, I remember you asked the question because I was like, wait a minute, I just assumed it was for injury recovery, etc. But surprisingly and refreshingly, the answer was most of them use it proactively for performance. They know that their bodies are their jobs. If their bodies break down, they're going to suffer in their performance. And these are big dollar contracts. Every microsecond, every catch, every flinch, everything matters. And, when you're in that position, when you have that consciousness, which we all should have, it matters to all of us. You said there's an athlete in all of us, whether, you're a mom, a dad, a high school athlete, aging, whatever it may be. We all need our bodies to do what it needs to do what we want to do. And making sure that we are optimized, making sure that we are proactive in what we do, and shifting that paradigm from, I'm okay, nothing's in too much pain, I can get by just fine, is a really important message to get across to people. And because pro athletes have the celebrity status that they do, maybe these days it's be like Tom, as in Brady. It was be like Mike, be like whoever the stars are on your local favorite teams. But that's what they're doing. And it's really smart to connect those dots. So whether it's Aaron Rodgers and you're in, middle America or wherever it may be, connect the dots, let people know in your community, let people know in your health tribe. That's all the digital people you can connect with on your email list and on your social media channels. Let them know not just what you believe, but what they are doing. And, for those Smart Chiropractor members of ours, we're doing it for you. That's what we do. That's how we do it. You now have the opportunity to sort of take the baton and run with it and sort of personalize whatever additional messaging you want to for your favorite teams. Maybe you are a chiropractor for whether it's professional teams, high school teams, local clubs, whatever it may be, but add your experience to the basis that we put out for you each and every month. And that really is sort of the grand slam formula for getting the most out of and the best results using the Smart Chiropractor program. And if you're not a member, that's okay. These ideas are free ideas. If you want to make up different types of content, programs, videos, whatever it may be, use the idea all you want to. It is really what it's all about. And that's kind of how we do it each and every month. Different campaign, each and every week, different topic from that campaign. Each and every day, you've got your protocol of what you could be saying about that week's topic, about that month's campaign. That's smart stuff. That's called the Smart Chiropractor, and great topic for this week.
Yeah, our docs are seeing tremendous success getting out there because, as Jason pointed out, this is about social credibility. And the more that people in your community see what others are doing, and especially if that individual has that celebrity, has their, they look up to them, they are, whatever it might be, that is powerful. It matters. It's why you see endorsements of products 24/7 on TV, because it makes an impact. I have a quote here that we included, and this was a Michael Jordan quote from yesteryear here. He said, "I didn't know how much I could improve until I started seeing a chiropractor. Since I've been in chiropractic, I've improved by leaps and bounds, both mentally and physically." Interesting that he said that probably 20 years ago, and really tying together what we can do as chiropractors. And some of that comes with the care we deliver and the adjustment. And I'm going to also make somewhat of an assumption here and say that also is about how we interact with patients. When you see how we, as chiropractors, communicate with people by empowering them, by showcasing the resiliency that they have. I say strength and flexibility, TB12 says pliability, however way you want to go with that. This is about showcasing individuals that they're dynamic, they're powerful, they have that ability to heal, as Jason pointed out in our first segment. And the more that you showcase that, and especially when you can put it through the lens of teach and invite consistently, when you can have our systems that enable you to get that messaging out there consistently at a high level across all the most popular platforms, and you continue to show up, and then you sprinkle in these celebrity testimonials. When you sprinkle in, for instance, this month, sports chiropractic, this week, the pro sports aspect of it. When you showcase the people that they look up to, the people that they're cheering on each and every, whatever sport it might be, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, whichever sport. And there are testimonials for every major sport that we've utilized and continue to utilize in our materials. It's powerful. It can be, it's subtle in some respects, powerful in other respects, but it needs to be a base component of how you teach and invite. You don't need to do all of the heavy lifting yourself when you have the ability to showcase the results that others are getting, and celebrities just plain work. And when you can tie it to sports performance, many people that come in to see us as chiropractors, the patients that come in to see us, the individuals that come in, they want to be more active. That's why they come in. So highlighting how athletes do it is a great way to showcase how your people in your community can do it. Jason?
It's funny. Anytime I've heard somebody who has some sort of orthopedic sports injury, it's so consistent that, they'll go, oh, I hurt my shoulder, I hurt my knee, I hurt my ankle. And they typically, more often than not, I wish I could count how many times I've heard what I'm about to say, because it's almost always there. I got the best doctor. He's the doctor for X team. And that's how they know they must be good. So do what works. Model after success. I'm sure you've heard that as well. Oh, I've got the best. You can't get in to see them. They worked with so-and-so, typically a sports figure athlete. And if they're good enough for them, good enough for me is the consciousness. So use these tools. And Jeff, I just want to highlight what you said. at the risk of being repetitive, consistent in repetition works. What we're saying is that the new way of messaging, I'll say the more effective way of messaging, because it's always been this way, we just haven't been doing it. The most effective way of messaging these days, as business leader after business leader, communication expert after communication expert will tell you, is teaching people about them and their potential, which is slightly different than teaching them about you and what you sell. It's a huge distinction because most chiropractors are still stuck in selling. Oh, they call it educating. It's heard as selling. You call it teaching or educating about what you do. And the shift, the very slight, I dare say, mental adjustment is understanding that your services are designed to help people get to their goal. Your services are not the goal. So help people keep their eye on the ball, which is always their improvement, their potential to heal themselves, their ability to live the lifestyle, perform at the level they want to. That's what they want. You're just someone who helps them get there along the way. And the reason this is so important, I know I've had these conversations with dozens, if not hundreds of chiropractors, and there's always pushback because it's so ingrained in us. No. We got to teach them about chiropractic, about what we do. The reason it's so important is that if people don't recognize and remember and acknowledge their self-healing ability, then you're really playing into the same small-minded consciousness that medicine is playing, which is, you're a broken machine, come to us, we will fix you with our drugs, with our surgery, with our whatever's the latest thing. And you have no ability. You're nothing without our power. That's what people understand. Look around. Nobody thinks that they have the ability to fight anything off unless they've got something from the pharmaceutical industry to protect them. Okay, well, that's a consciousness that is more popular than ever. And yet, when you can tap into, and we talked about this in an earlier segment, if you didn't watch our analysis of The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and he talks about a just cause, which has to be aspirational, and it has to share with people what the possibility is for them and their dreams and their goals, so that that's what it is they're really looking after. Our friend Stephen Franson calls it the life effect. I am also going to refer to it as, really the inspiration of possibility. Not just that you can't play golf or you can't bend over and play with your grandchildren, but you want to age gracefully. You want to think about how you're going to be when you age, and the impact the actions you do or do not take now will impact that vision personally, familially, right, for your family, your community, and so on, and let it ripple out for there. So we're going to be repetitive. The bullseye, the kind of eye on the prize, is teaching people about how powerful they are to heal themselves. You just happen to have one of the most ultimate ways to help them get there, but there is what it's all about.
Jason, that is exceptionally well said. And docs out there, if you are listening and or watching and you'd love our help and you'd love to get started, this segment has been brought to you and sponsored by The Smart Chiropractor. We can help you generate more of your ideal new patients, better retention, and more reactivations without spending any money on advertising. That happens by teaching and inviting consistently, by utilizing campaign structures, and by proactively answering the questions people in their community have about their health, as Jason just eloquently described. But now we get my favorite transition, which is we get to actually see this in action as we head over to our member highlights on today's Smart Chiropractor show. Smart Chiropractor Show, March 15th, 2022. I can't believe it's March 15th. The Ides of March, I guess, as they say, if I'm not mistaken. And we are going to highlight one of our Smart Chiropractor members. We just got done talking about our Research That Matters segment, which discussed our monthly campaign, which is Sports Chiropractic. And this week we are looking into professional sports and how that plays a big role. However, one of our docs out there, Dr. James Chapman of Dynamic Chiropractic and Rehab, is doing something very, very interesting. And we wanted to point out our members that are doing awesome stuff. I'm going to share my screen right here. We'll head into LinkedIn, and you can see James's feed right here, his activity. And look what we have here. In his activity feed, he is posting to LinkedIn links to the blog posts that we provide for him each week. You can see the beautiful graphics we're supplying. Be Like Mike, How to Reach Your Full Potential. We just discussed that. This is timely. It happened today. You can see he's got the hashtags there. He's got some likes. This is a fantastic way to get more SEO juice. If you geek out on the nuance of marketing, on the nuts and bolts of marketing, taking our blogs, which feature meta descriptions, keywords, and have been optimized, and getting them across all your channels is a very powerful way to get more traffic to your website. I'll scroll down here as I discuss this and showcase how consistent, notice that word, consistent, Dr. Chapman is. James is doing a fantastic job getting out there each and every week. You can see engagement on these posts as well. People in his community commenting, James doing a great job by answering, not letting it go, kind of tone deaf on the one side there, but ensuring that he follows up when you see the comment. And I love this because it's a creative way to boost the traffic to your website. It's a creative way to get more, benefit out of the SEO laden blogs that he's getting supplied to him by our team with the Smart Chiropractor. And it's a great way to teach and invite. There are probably people in his community that he is connected with and or follow him on LinkedIn that might not be on some of the other platforms. And LinkedIn is a great place. It's like almost optimized, I want to say, to share this type of educational content. And you can still get pretty darn good reach when you link off-site, such as he is doing, back to his website. Jason, James doing a great job. What are your thoughts on James using LinkedIn as one of those promotional tools, one of those platforms that can drive traffic? And what would you say to docs out there that maybe are sub-optimized in how they're using the Smart Chiropractor currently?
This really is, first of all, great job, Dr. James Chapman. Bravo to you. Jeff always says results follow action. You're taking action. It couldn't be easier. We're supplying for you the words you need to use. You just need to put it in the different places you want it to be. And to that point, I want to make sure people understand how they should be thinking about marketing today. And I'll say specifically content marketing today, but content marketing really is the way you market in today's world, not exclusively, but I'm making the distinction between content marketing and direct response advertising. And direct response advertising, in a previous segment, we talked about the Infinite Game book by Simon Sinek. And the metaphor is that in finite thinking, you have a specific measurable goal over a period of time. You spend a certain amount of dollars for a certain campaign over a certain amount of time. You measure the results and you determine your future actions based on those results. Did it work? Didn't it work? Did it get the ROI you were looking for in the time frame you were looking for it? Not that there's anything wrong with that. However, in the infinite game, in the long term, you'll understand that in order to attract, Jeff has mentioned this over and over again, your ideal new client. Now, think about that for just a moment. Many chiropractors do what they need to do, say what they need to say in order to get more new patients. And more often than not, if you look at the advertising you're putting out, and this isn't a blanket indictment on everybody, but audit your own advertisements you're putting out there. Do those ads accurately reflect your best message? Is somebody who sees those ads, reads those ads, watches those ads, are they going to get an accurate understanding of who you really are and what you really offer? Or are you saying something, maybe even compromising your messaging in order to get the immediate gratification of someone in your practice based on what they think they need and what they think you do, in hopes of them actually eventually wanting what you really offer and do. I think that should make sense to most of you, right? Are you saying something different than what it is you really offer? Some of you are not. If that's your practice and your ads reflect what you authentically do, no problem. That's awesome. But for those of you that really offer more lifestyle care, lifetime care, holistic care, care that isn't just limited to the temporary relief of symptoms, but includes a lot more, then your marketing and communication should actually be more aligned with what you're probably teaching. And what you're probably teaching is that a healthy life is based on a healthy lifestyle. And a healthy lifestyle is something that is different for all of us. The one thing that's common and consistent in having a healthy lifestyle is that you're doing positive things consistently. That's about the only thing that really applies to all of us. Some of you are going to be focused more on nutrition. Some of you are going to be more focused on exercise. Some of you on sleep. Some of you on staying well adjusted. Some of you on mindset and spirituality. Some of you on flexibility and resilience, whatever it may be. There's no one recipe to have a healthy lifestyle, and there's no one recipe to teach and invite consistently the type of messaging that's going to attract your ideal client to your specific practice. And I'll close up by mentioning this one obvious but uncommon common sense approach. And that's this. We've all been taught, I don't care what school you went to, that the key to building your practice is to educate people about what chiropractic is. And you all have your own ways of explaining what chiropractic is, and it's not often that it's the same. And my point in saying that is, if your focus, your belief, your misinformation is the word, I guess, today, that you should be teaching about chiropractic, my question is, if I lined up 10 chiropractors on the wall, and you as a chiropractor, if I invited you, if I asked you, you see those 10 chiropractors standing there against the wall? Can you tell me, they're all chiropractors. Can you tell me what each and every one of them do in their practice? Can you tell me the type of client they want to see? Can you tell me if they adjust or don't adjust? Can you tell me if they make short-term care plan recommendations or long-term care plan recommendations? Can you tell me if they take insurance or don't take insurance? Can you tell me their philosophy of health and healing, whether they make lifestyle recommendations or they're just focused on correcting the cause through subluxation, or not even focus on subluxation, just focus on symptomatic relief with whatever technology of the day has the most research and or has the prettiest salespeople that have sold you what they do? And the answer is, just teaching about people about chiropractic is like teaching people about restaurants. Go to a restaurant. Well, what kind of restaurant? Are you looking for a high end or low end, fast food or fine dining, organic, or doesn't matter? We speak so broadly and so generically by just simply focusing on the message of chiropractic that we confuse people because they don't know who to choose. And that's affecting you and your practice, because if they're just thinking chiropractic, why wouldn't they go to the closest, cheapest option that says chiropractor? Most people don't drive cross town in order to get gas. They find the closest, cheapest option. It's a commodity. And unless and until you start specializing and differentiating, not about chiropractic as a profession, but you as a chiropractor and who you most want to work with, who you specialize in helping, what conditions or what category of people that you most effectively love to work with and love working with you, until you go that next level, you will find yourself trapped in the cycle of always needing new patients. And the simple reason is because you're attracting deal shoppers or generic people looking for what they think chiropractic is, which is probably not necessarily the same thing as what it is you uniquely and specifically do. So your goal should be to figure out, yes, you can help anybody with a spine, but who do you most love to speak with? Who do you most love to help? And how do you get your message? How do you teach and invite that audience consistently? And you'll find you don't need as many new patients. The ones who come to you want what you offer and want to stick around for the long term. So, a little bit longer winded, but I want to get these ideas out and make sure that people understand, that chiropractors understand this messy conversation we've all been having, thinking that marketing is advertising. You can just outsource it and pay someone to just send people in, and that it's all about the data, the numbers, the ROI. And if you spent a little and made a lot in the short term, it must work. But the question is, at what long-term expense and what long-term consequences? And if you're like us and you're a little bit frustrated that after all these decades, the general population, politicians and the media especially, has little to no real appreciation for what we collectively do as a profession, let alone what you do in your practice, maybe it's time for us to up our game and be more specific with how each of us is unique and different. Teach people about their power and teach people about how what you uniquely do can help those unique people get and reach the goals they want to specifically reach.
That is 100% true. It is about benefits more than features would be another way to say that. Jason, you did a great job describing those differences, which is what matters. And I also want to give a final shout out to Dr. James Chapman. Part of getting that message out there to who your ideal patients are by helping differentiate who you are is to get your messaging out. And getting your messaging out consistently is a key part of that. That is what we help with the Smart Chiropractor. Dr. James Chapman of Dynamic Chiropractic and Rehab. Fantastic job utilizing the tools available to you. And might I add, the free tools, posting on LinkedIn, grabbing that traffic, showcasing who you are, what you do as a doc in your community. Well done. And on the notion of patient education, we have a special guest interview, our featured guest of today. We're going to bring that segment and get it started right now. Smart Chiropractor Show featured guest segment. This is one of, I love all the segments, but this is one of my favorite segments because we get to explore the personal questions we have with great people doing great things in and around the chiropractic profession. And on today's episode, we are highlighting a conversation that Jason and I had with Dr. Jerome Fryer. He makes these little guys you might have seen on my desk in our Smart Chiropractor studio as well. Dynamic disc designs. What an interesting story. How do you get into such a thing? What's the scoop with building them? We get into those questions and much more with a gentleman, Dr. Fryer, who still practices while creating one of the best patient education tools around. Without further ado, here's Jason and I's recent conversation with Dr. Jerome Fryer. Hey docs, I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host Dr. Jason Deitch for our featured guest today, and we are lucky to sit down, have a conversation with a entrepreneur, a chiropractor, a man of many talents, Dr. Jerome Fryer of Dynamic Chiropractic and Dynamic Disc Designs. Jerome, thanks for taking some time and coming on today, man.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to make the cut here.
It is our pleasure to talk. And one of the things that has been fascinating, I know we've chatted at a variety of conferences throughout the last few years. And in my opinion, what you've been able to create with Dynamic Disc Designs is, top of the class. I'd love for you to just trace it back a little bit and let everybody know, how'd you get started in such an endeavor?
Well, it was... So I had moved practices and locations because I saw that we had children and we needed to move to a different location to give them more bells and whistles. So I had dead space in my schedule and it was very uncomfortable for me. Right. So I thought, okay, you can't just sit there and do nothing. So I fired up some research ideas and I got that moving. And then at the same time, I thought, you know what, I want to create. And at the same time, when I was researching how dynamic a disc is, how diurnal it is, the changes of symptoms and that sort of thing, I knew that, discs are diurnal. They change, they deform, they move, they shear, they compress, they herniate. And I thought, well, you know what? Why don't I just want to build something for myself to build my anemic practice, something that was more realistic to help, like just step up patient education. Because I know when you invest in patient education, the referrals just come, right? Because you're teaching them what is going on with their bodies, with the patient's bodies. And I've always found that the best investment. So in my previous clinic, I had that, degeneration phase model, and I used that. And then I had a, full skeleton that, our full spine that I'd constantly break, and I'd have to send it in for repair. And it was just annoying. And then I thought, you know what? So I started creating I created a disc with foam, and I just dipped it in water, and I just put it in between two vertebral bodies, and I just compress, and the water would kind of dribble out around it. And I just started thinking, you know what? We can do better here, because models are static and symptoms are dynamic. So I got to work. I just started, with dead space, I started getting creative. I started researching, and next thing you know, I created this model, and it was for my own purpose. And the guy across the hallway that I was, an associate with, he said, could I get one of those? I'm like, you want one? And then it was like, oh, maybe I have something here for the greater masses. So, yeah. And then, it was interesting. So I remember going to a conference, and I was like, okay, what are people going to pay for this? Like, right? The price point, what are people actually going to pay for this? So I went to this conference, it's BC Chiropractic, and I built one, and I put it in the, I was at a round table. I put it in the middle, and I said, okay, what would you guys pay for that? Right. And the first guy goes, $0. I'm like, oh, 0. Okay. Go to the next guy. Goes, ooh. And I showed him. He goes, oh, I'd pay 700. Oh, 700. 0 to 700. I'm getting quite the range. So anyways, I went around, and I got some sort of average, and I went, okay, what's the market going to bear? And then I kind of backtracked and figured out how much anatomy I could pack into this thing at that price point, and still make a bit of a profit, and then give the doctor the best model they could have at that price point. And I don't have distribution, so it's all just shipped right out of my warehouse. So then I don't have to worry about the 30% on top of that. So I can invest that back into the products. Anyways, that's the start of it. And then I started going to conferences, and the oohs and the ahs and the lineups, and then it just went, do you have a stenosis model? So the next year I would come, I'd develop a stenosis model. Do you have a spondylolisthesis model? You have this. So every year I would just listen to my customers. Next thing I know, I've got this portfolio of models now, and they're being sold all over the world.
Jerome, that is a great story. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention, and it sounds like there's been a need for that. Would you mind, I know you keep moving that around, but would you sort of show everybody kind of what is it? How do you use it to teach people about what they need to know?
Yeah, really, it's case specific, right? So this one was the first model that I ever created, and I've added new features as time has gone on this, right? But this one everyone likes this one because it actually has an annulus, a nucleus, okay? It has innervation on the outer third of the annulus. It's got a radial fissure. It's got it's got concentric fissures. It's got a nucata equina.
There you go.
Nucata equina with the actual rootlets to scale and number. And you can show how you can get stenosis type of symptoms associated with encroachment on the rootlets, right? You can see that. So, this one, you can see it actually herniates under load, all right? So there's a nucleus that actually extrudes. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
You can see that, right?
Yep.
So under flexion load, if someone has symptoms as it relates to, I was shoveling, and next thing you know, I felt something in my back, right? And then, you suspect there's a herniation. You can show them the mechanism, and then you can show them the solution and what we need to do to solve the situation, right? Whether it's a large extrusion that will, in time, resorb.
Yeah.
Or is it a protrusion on this side that's a little more tricky in management sometimes.
Yeah.
So this one's designed with the circumferential disc bulge, and they're all created from real cadaveric specimens. So they're to scale too. I think scale is important. I've gone to shows and people are like, oh, why don't you scale this thing up, right? 4 times so it's big so I could show it. Well, guess what? When you lose scale, you lose. There's an aspect of realism you lose. People need to understand that discs are that big. Not this big. So they can start to get a sense of when you load it, they go, oh, okay. So at the end of the day, my back starts to hurt a little bit. Is it because maybe my facets are coming closer together? When I sit, there's a little bit of relief. Or maybe there's a symptomatic facet, and as the day goes on, it's like, oh, it hurts more. Or, when I walk, it hurts. Or when I get out of a chair, it hurts. So it's just so important. Like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I had a patient that had shoulder pain, and she also had, she said she was having calf pain, right? Left calf pain. And I said, well, how's your back, right? Oh, yeah, I used to get sciatica a lot on the right. There's problems on the right, but that seemed to resolve. I used to see a chiropractor about 5 or 6 years ago, but then I went to the yoga mat, and it kind of replaced that a little bit, right? So it's been 5 or 6 years. So you have to think that there has been disc height loss over 5 to 6 years. Mm-hmm. Right? Time, gravity, load. There's a little bit of height loss. There's got to be a little bit of compressive load loss. She said she really didn't have any back pain. So I began evaluating her shoulder, but then when I got into her lower back, prone, I started to do P to A evaluation. She's like, ooh, really sore, right? Really sore. So I was like, ooh, okay. It's actually a symptomatic back, but it wasn't really presenting. Mm-hmm. It's presenting down the leg. So I'll just move this along. I did some gentle flexion distraction. Okay, just gentle, because I could tell she's like, oh, that feels good. Oh, right. And I know that there are tissues moving in there. So I backed off. I knew I'd been down this road before. So I was doing some flexion distraction. And guess what? Often I'll do leg extensions to kind of set the back again, because sometimes when people get off, it's a bit sore. Well, she was very symptomatic. And I'm like, darn. She came in without back pain. Now she has back pain. And how do I manage this now? Now she's all of a sudden her mood's changed. We've all been there. Yeah. But I was able to grab my hypermobility model. I don't have it's in my room, but I was able to show the patient that, very likely what you have there is you've got a hypermobile segment, right? And all of a sudden she's like, oh, you revealed something in there that I didn't know. Right. So when you ask me about how to use it, every case is specific, and you have to be adaptable, and you have to be ready to explain symptoms that patients have, even when they're not expected. And when you get into those tough situations where you need to explain why some patients are even maybe a little bit more sensitive, and then it creates a framework moving forward. So.
Jerome, that's I appreciate you sharing that story, because I know we have all been there. we've all had those patients, and I'll say every single time that I've taught across every single platform, and if docs are watching this, they can probably scout out one of your models sitting right next to me here, always an arm's length away. And I find it to be an invaluable teaching tool. And one thing you mentioned was cadaveric specimens. I think I pronounced that correctly. What's the production process like on these? I think that's just fascinating that you've been able to bring something to market. How do you do it in a nutshell? And where do you start? And obviously, until that shipment point going out to a doc to be able to use in his community.
Yeah, that one's proprietary. Sorry, Jeff, I can't explain. It's something that I've worked on for a long, long time, and I want to keep that kind of held close, but it's a challenge, right? Mm-hmm. It's not easy to produce these things, right? And it took a lot of R&D, and it took probably about to get it really, really developed. It was like 3 years of R&D, right? So, but it all starts with real cadaveric specimens, right? That's kind of where the framework starts. Mm-hmm. Like once I purchase these real cadaveric specimens, I go and look for specific pathology within the bony anatomy.
Gotcha.
Like this one, for example, right? This one has, you can see that there is significant, this is significant.
A lot of osteophytes
severe, yeah, right? And there's subchondral sclerosis here on this facet joint. And this has a spinal canal with a thickened ligamentum flavum. So then what I do is I go on and I create the soft tissues to match the bony story. I do my best. I do my best to look at what has caused that, right? Versus that.
Yep.
And with my understanding of anatomy, I begin to craft the viscoelastic structures. This one, I'll just share with you quickly. I had a patient that came in that had stenosis, right? Stenosis. She's been to countless other people. There's been, symptoms have been going up and down and up and down, and now they're getting worse. And she just wants an understanding of her symptoms. I said, okay, this is stenosis. You see? Canal? Feel the friction? So I got her to grab the pen, and she could actually feel the friction. Right? You get her to slide it back and forth because nerves are moving when we're walking. And then I squeeze the spinous processes together, and all of a sudden, the pen got tight. And then I explained to her that when she sits, there's flexion, and the pen got loose. And I told her we're dealing with these spaces are small, but there is hope when you understand what the holes do when you move your back a certain way. So all of a sudden she came back the second visit. She goes, I just can't believe it. After all these years, I totally understand. And she wasn't looking for like a necessary solution, but a strategy moving forward into her next few decades. Yeah. So now she has a clear idea about the stenosis, and it was the model that actually helped her understand her own anatomy.
They do say a picture's worth 1,000 words. That's got to be worth even more than the picture. What I want to ask you about is if people are watching, if they notice above your head behind you, there you go. That looks like it's more than a model you created. You want to give us a quick understanding of what is that?
Well, what do you think it is? Looks kind of bony, doesn't it?
Looks like somebody got in a fight with Moby Dick.
Yeah, exactly. So this is actually, these are 11 vertebrae of a blue whale. And this one was out of sequence. I just didn't feel right. This last vertebrae here, I just couldn't match it up with this one because there's a trough here where the main artery sits, and you could tell that one was up the mammal a little further. But this is of a blue whale. It was donated to me back in 2003 and dragged up off the bottom of the ocean about 40 kilometers off of the coast of British Columbia. And they were donated to me, so I thought I'd string them up.
I think it is one of the best and most unique office accoutrements I have seen to date. I think it's awesome. With your models that are, I'm going to say, much more scaled down, realistic size of a human, slightly smaller than a blue whale out there. What's maybe the most popular? I'll ask you two questions here. What's the most popular model that you see docs picking up? And what's maybe either currently available in the product line that you're super excited about or something docs could look forward to over the course of this year? Because I know you're always kind of scouting out and new opportunities to showcase, again, patient education through dynamic disc designs.
So the most popular one still remains the very first model that I ever created, now with upgrades, but it's the one to your left. Right? It's that one right there. It's the professional model. Yeah. That one I've packed in as much as I can to give people as much patient education experience. It's like like an SUV or a utility of all the models, right? So that's got good disc height. It doesn't have any osteophytes on the facet joint. So that one's the most popular, and it continues to be the most. Now you can get, the cauda equina with the new rootlets and the ligamentum flavum, and you can get options of spinal listhesis on that. So that one is kind of still the most popular one if you're thinking about just purchasing one. I've just been hired by a company to build knees. So that one's kind of exciting. It's for a knee implant company. So that one's coming out soon. But that was a task, getting all to scale, all the ACL, PCL, and the MCL, LCL, and then the menisci all to scale, and the hyaline cartilage. So, but now it actually has dynamic movement. You can see the shear and feel it, and you can see how the approximation of the femur and the tibia. And anyways, it's just it comes to life. And my hypermobility model, I think the research is starting to show that we're dealing with often segments that have uneven motion sharing, or one segment's moving a little too much and not enough. So now we can talk a little bit about that with patients a little bit more accurately. So yeah,
it's absolutely awesome. It's have you found it to be rewarding? I mean, what kind of feedback do you get from docs besides your own patients? Obviously, many of them are going, I finally understand my problem. Thank you, doc.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback are you getting for docs?
Yeah, they say it revolutionized the way they practice, because it's all of a sudden they're like, it's just changed. It's changed their patient education delivery. It's really quick for them too, saves them so much time, and it's long lasting. You show the patient once, and then all of a sudden, often they're like, I've never seen that before. And they're like kind of lifers. Yeah. Right? Because no one showed them the accuracy of what is going on in their own spine. So it's awesome. I got people that just like, these are the best things, Jerome. Thanks for making it. You guys cheering me on. Like, they got their pom-poms out and they're cheering me on, and it's great, but I want to just make sure I continue to deliver a great product for all the docs out there.
Jerome, you certainly have done that and then some. We appreciate you taking some time today. We're going to encourage everybody listening and watching, please check out Dynamic Disc Designs. We'll drop that link down below. And on behalf of Dr. Jason, myself, Dr. Jeff, Jerome, thanks so much for taking some time. Sounds like you have patients coming in right now, so we'll catch you very soon. Bye-bye. All right, interview with Jerome Fryer of Dynamic Disc Designs. It takes an interesting guy to be a chiropractor. It takes an interesting guy to hang whale bones from his ceiling. And it certainly takes an interesting guy to develop the models that he has. I've never seen anything like it. I've utilized it in practice for years. Jason, what a fantastic conversation. What were some of your takeaways from when we had the opportunity to chat with Jerome?
I love his passion. We all find something, we either seek and find, or just happen to fall into, or some combination of the two. But he clearly has a passion for recreating vertebra, and at the most accurate way possible, with all the right intentions. We've said before, picture's worth 1,000 words. This is better than a picture. You can hold it, you can feel. It's not smooth and easy. It has got stuff in it, and it's accurate. I think, it's been said that if your spine was on your face, people would take much more care of it. And the reason most people don't take care of their spine is because it's behind them and they can't see it. So the more they can have an appreciation for what it is that we are suggesting they take care of, whether it's on the level of the misalignment, putting pressure on the nerve, or whether it's the degenerative stages over time, it's a wonderful visual. And yeah, Jerome's a unique guy. I want to make more bones, even better, even all the different kinds. I mean this with all the positive fanatics who are fanatical about doing things that most of us would not think of, but that is what they focus on consistently, and it's only to all of our benefit. So what a cool thing.
Well done, Jerome. Thanks for taking the time. And docs, if you have been keeping up with our featured guest segment, be on the lookout in April. A little bird told me there might be a new podcast coming your way that puts together all of the interviews and our lineup. If you've thought that the guests that we've had thus far have been fantastic, which they have, Just wait until you see who is coming up in the weeks and months to come. And it's going to be available in podcast format as well. So we will be sure to let you know on this show when that goes live. But please also subscribe, put on those notifications, ensure that you're able to tune in with us each and every week. That happens on Tuesday's Smart Chiropractor show. And Jerome, again, thanks for coming on. And docs, please check out Dynamic Disc Designs. He puts together some fantastic products that can help you in your patient education that goes on in your office and with the videos that you're shooting online, because we know that you are ready to take those active steps for getting out there and teaching and inviting consistently. So thanks, Jerome. And it is on to our strategic marketing segment on today's Smart Chiropractor show. Strategic Marketing, Smart Chiropractor Show, March 15th, 2022. We're going to talk about the importance and the power in reactivating patients through a weekly email newsletter. This is one of the most important things you can do in practice. Now, within the Smart Chiropractor, all of our members have Chiro emails, and we take care of this for them. Subject lines, the body copy, the call to action. And if you check out thesmartchiropractor.com, you will see a lot of testimonials and results tying into this exact concept. But if you're not yet a member, Jason and I wanted to spend a few minutes just opening your eyes to the power of a weekly email newsletter and how it can help generate a substantial amount of reactivations that can occur in your practice week after week, month after month, year after year. This starts with our philosophy of the Smart Chiropractor: teach and invite consistently. And one of the best channels to do that is through email. And I'm imagining if you're a chiropractor and you're watching this, probably a majority of your email lists consist of active and inactive patients. Now, we'd love to see that become more opportunity for new patients. We'll talk about that a separate day. But we're going to go into the assumption that a majority of your email list is inactive patients. And especially if you've been in practice more than 6 months, I can bet with pretty fair certainty that it is. These are individuals who have already had fantastic results in your practice. Let me stop on that for one moment. Typically, when I ask a chiropractor, I say, what percentage of people walk out your door happy? The answer is 90% plus, which is awesome, because there is no other healthcare profession that's probably over 60 to 65%. So the odds are in your favor just being a chiropractor. The second, and that's because of everything we do, because of our communication, because of our hands-on care, because of the results that we get, and hopefully because of the experience that you're building in your office. But some of that experience, it doesn't need to stop when a patient is no longer under active care. Now, things happen in life, and it might be that they did not move on to maintenance or wellness. It might be that something came up and then they got off their schedule, whatever it might be. We all know that if you've been a chiropractor a while, you probably have dozens, hundreds, and or thousands of inactive patients. And many of them, an overwhelming majority, 90% plus, probably loved the service that they received in your practice. But if you're not consistently communicating with them, if you're just hoping that they're eventually going to remember to give you a call, you're at a supreme disadvantage, and you're just not doing your business a very good service, aside from the fact that that's not a very patient-centric approach to business. You want to ensure that individuals are proactive as they can be with their healthcare by teaching and inviting consistently. And a weekly email newsletter enables you to do that. This ties in with the Smart Chiropractor. We think in monthly campaigns, weekly topics, daily posts. So each week is a different topic tying to the monthly campaign, showcasing how your care can benefit them. Now, not all of it ties into the adjustment itself, because you want to build your story around the concept. Getting back to Jason's mindset mentor segment at the beginning of this episode, it's about benefits. It's about showcasing how you're their guide. And I'm going to say, Jason, it's about playing the long game. What are your thoughts on weekly email newsletters and how they can contribute so substantially to reactivations and docs practices out there?
I love how you kick this off. It's 100% the case and true. I could go on for a long time. I'll try to keep it brief. Listen, email newsletters are essential in today's day and age for many reasons. I'll throw out a few. Number one, we've created the 5 types of new patients. The 5 types of new patients. And the number one best new patient you can be getting is keeping your current patient. And what that means is whether they're inactive, whether they are currently going through active care, in active care, when they're going through active care, and they should stay consistent with their schedule, keeping top of mind is an essential part of retention, making sure they follow through with their care. It's more often than not, if they don't know any better, that when they feel better, right? Here's the problem with focusing on symptoms exclusively and not integrating an education awareness process to make sure that they understand that if people come to you for symptoms only, one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to feel better and say, thank you, I don't need to continue, I got the goal I wanted, or they're not going to feel better and say, I didn't reach the goal that I wanted to reach and not going to continue. Either way, the person leaves, unless you've got automated communications that are appropriate. This is different than, let's make sure we're calling everybody to keep them on their schedule. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I know my staff sometimes felt uncomfortable. Now, yes, I did the mind shift of being of service and helping them remember, but an automated email is really putting your message in their face appropriately and consistently, not with the whiff of, oh, we need you to stay on your care plan, but here's what you need to know in order to know why it's a good idea for you to make the right choice. So the concept is solid. Staying in touch weekly is absolutely appropriate and essential. Now, why aren't most doctors doing it? It's really hard to do. Coming up with beautifully designed, research-based, brief and to the point, well-written, grammatically correct, spell-checked, easy to read and understand, formatted specifically to get in, teach, take action, teach and invite, is hard. It's really hard. We've done it. You're welcome to try to do it on your own if you'd like to. Model, don't copy, but model after what we've done. That's the solid concept. That's number one. Number two, what is specific about Chiro emails, which is part of the Smart Chiropractor technology suite, is that it's done for you. Literally, once you've uploaded your email list into the system, or you have one of the EHR integrations that we're working on or that we have, then you automatically have these emails going out. So you go from it's hard to do to it couldn't be easier to do. So that's the second part. The third part, our digital newsletters. Okay, I know when we say newsletter, people think some piece of paper that needs a stamp that goes in the mail, that goes into the junk mail, that goes into the trash can. That is what used to happen. That was better than nothing. But what makes digital email newsletters weekly so powerful is that you have the ability to personalize the emails we create for you and include your phone number, include a link to your scheduler, include a link to your website or any other invite, as in call to action, inside that newsletter. Now, last but not least, I jokingly oftentimes say this from stage, wherever you're watching what you're watching right now, if you look around, if you're not by yourself, I can practically guarantee if you're with a group of people, someone's on their phone. And guess what they're doing? They are scrolling through their email and or social media. There is no lack of eyeballs of people addicted to their devices, looking at their email, looking at their social media. And the only question you have to ask yourself is, are you in their face appropriately and consistently? Now, when I say in your face, I don't mean being aggressive. I mean that you are top of mind, that as they're scrolling, they see something that is a generous benefit to them. I didn't say that they see an advertisement that's trying to sell them. I didn't say that they're seeing an email that's, reminding them of some new event that is designed to be for them, but ultimately most people know is for your practice building benefit, new patient orientation program or whatever it may be. I know we say things with good intentions, but the way those things are often heard, the way they're presented, is that, boy, my doc must be desperate. They keep sending these things out because they need more new patients. So there is a context to consistently sharing, teaching, and inviting, more appropriately, information you know they need to know, not for your benefit, but for theirs, so that they can keep learning about their body. They can learn about the power of staying well connected. They can learn about all the different types of people that are actually adopting this lifestyle and these habits, and recognize that this isn't just about you selling your services. This is about you enlightening them and inspiring them that they have a greater ability to be healthier than they've ever thought possible, and that you are a guide. You are there to help them on their journey to their health and well-being. You're not just trying to sell what you offer. And, there's a fine line between what that is and what that's not, and how that sounds and how that's perceived. But the simple solution to all of this is that, as we've talked about in other segments, proper marketing is like having a wellness routine. That means it's going to be slightly different for everybody, right? That there's multiple categories you want to have in place, like eating right and exercising and sleeping and positive mindset. But when you get into detail, everyone's going to do those things slightly differently. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to getting well, just like there's no one-size-fits solution for marketing or communications. And that's why this is a toolkit of different types of tools, including this most powerful and easiest tool you can use. When it comes to new members that sign up, and we have members that understand what we do and go, great, I'm in for the long game. We have other members that sign up and go, well, what kind of results can I expect, and how soon can I expect them? I will tell you, the fastest, easiest, most effective way to get a return on your investment is to start communicating appropriately with the people that have already seen you. That's what we talked about, is the best next new patient is keeping your current patient, whether it's retention for their existing care plan, or whether, as Jeff said earlier, life happens. They traveled, their insurance ran out, their symptom got better. They had to take care of somebody else and stop their care for themselves, for whatever the reasons are. And there's always plenty of reasons. The key is to stay in touch with them. The reason most of you don't do it is because it's hard, and because you're afraid of bugging them. You're afraid of spam. You're afraid of one person going, stop sending me an email. They're not your target audience. Everybody else looks forward to learning. That's why they're on the phones and on their computers all the time, looking for good quality things that will enrich their lives. Either do it yourself or be smart, make it easy, let us do it for you. I think you'll love how easy and simple and effective, and I guess if you're looking for ROI, what a great return on investment this specific tool will give you.
Yeah, email marketing, Jason, can power the entire patient journey. Retention is a key component of that so many docs out there just haven't really got the infrastructure, the processes, the systems. We can help. We can provide you the process, the system, and the copy, everything you need to really generate more reactivations by, as Jason very, very, very well pointed out, the people who already know, trust, and like you. This is really the hottest audience you could possibly have. And it is time. It's 2022 out there, docs. It is time to build the systems and processes so that you can see more of your ideal patients, so that you can curate more of that health tribe, and you can help people be healthier over the course of their life. And what better way to do that than to show up each and every week with Teach and Invite content. So that has been strategic marketing. That is all about weekly email newsletters and their importance. We're going to head over and finish up today's show with our business principles segment, and it is a good one. Business principles. On today's segment, we're going to discuss stabilizing your chiropractic revenue. How much of your income should be recurring? If you've been following what Jason and I have been talking about, you might have heard a concept called the Payday Practice. Payday Practice has sponsored this segment because it's all about building recurring revenue. And part of the first question you might have is, well, how much recurring revenue? What's that optimum balance? How should I think and consider this? If I develop my SMART goals, as we've discussed earlier this year, how do I build a framework to understand what I should be shooting for, what's too much, what's too little? Jason, when we talk about building recurring revenue, stabilizing income so there's not that roller coaster or yo-yo, it is about diversifying, not eliminating. So keep your fee for service, have fun with it, take care of people, but lower your stress by serving them at a higher level and building some recurring revenue into that process. I'll let you take it away.
Well, we have found, just like if somebody were to come to you as a chiropractor, more often than not, if you do an analysis of what's really going on causing their problem, it is likely that you may come to the conclusion that there is a vertebral subluxation or motion restriction, whatever language you choose to use. As chiropractors, we tend to understand that there's likely something going on in the spine affecting the nerve system and therefore interfering with our body's ability to heal itself the way it is designed to do. And I use that as a metaphor because when Jeff and I assess what's going on in the profession, perhaps in your practice too, that the number one issue most chiropractors are suffering from is monthly financial stress. The constant stress that every single month you pray that there's more money than month. In other words, that you have enough in collections to cover all your monthly expenses, specifically your monthly recurring expenses. Now, I know that there's, other types of expenses, your dream account, your vacation account, the things you hope for retirement, but the things you know for sure are you're going to have rent or a mortgage, you're going to have payroll, you're going to have taxes, you're going to have insurance expenses, auto expenses, education expenses, student loan expenses. There is guaranteed expenses that you're going to have next month and the month after that and the month after that and so on. And so what we're bringing to the profession is a conversation and a consciousness that today's most successful businesses with the highest valuations are actually built on this exact premise that has not yet crept its way into our profession yet. But if you're smart and you're paying attention, we can learn from success and model after success. And here's how it works. The concept of the payday practice is that you calculate what we refer to as your MVMI, your minimum viable monthly income. In plain English, that's your monthly overhead, the expenses that you have to cover each and every month that are non-negotiable, you've committed to. And so the suggestion is, in order to eliminate your financial stress forever, is if you're able to set up monthly recurring revenue that meets your monthly recurring expenses every month guaranteed. Imagine if the first day of every month were to transform from, right? Oh, we just had a great month. We killed it. We had our highest collections ever, most new patients ever. The first of the month comes, and what happens to all your numbers? They go back to zero. In which case, we all get the pit in our stomach and we go, here come all the bills. I hope here comes all the money. And as I've heard many times before, hope is not a strategy. So what would happen if you transformed the first of the month from, oh man, back to zero in collections, here come all the bills, and turned it into payday? That's the concept, that the first of the month you are generating enough monthly recurring revenue to meet your monthly recurring expenses so that from the second day of the month through the rest of the month, it is mostly fun, profit, and freedom. We'll get into more detail about that later, but your question was, what percentage of your revenue should be monthly recurring revenue? And the answer is whatever percentage your current overhead is the percentage that your monthly recurring revenue should be your goal. Now, very few people, if anyone, reaches that in month 1 or month 2 or month 3. There is a process to building your monthly recurring revenue. But if you are a long game thinker, an infinite game thinker, as we've mentioned earlier because of Simon Sinek's book, if you want to think about not just how do I fix my crisis of now, but think about, how do I really start a plan to reduce my financial stress forever? Then this is the most solid, easiest, most consistent, guaranteed plan to get you out of that monthly financial stress. Now, there are multiple ways to generate monthly recurring revenue. We'll talk about that in other segments, or you can read the book, The Payday Practice. You'll find it within our information that we have. But the concept is, the takeaway here is to start thinking about how you can. When I went to Life University, I spent years, I went to almost every Dynamic Essentials seminar there, and it was ingrained in me. In fact, what inspired me to become a chiropractor was the ethos, the culture, the concept and philosophy of giving, loving, and serving out of a state of abundance. And that's the part that oftentimes givers forget. They got the give, love, and serve, but they forget the simple concept that you can't give away when you're the one in need. I mean, yes, you can. You go, oh, I don't have anything, here you go. But over time, that is not a sustainable model. That is very much like the patients who come to your practice, probably moms the most, who give themselves sick. In other words, they come to your practice hurt, suffering, often with chronic lifestyle diseases, not because they don't know what to do, but because they're so generous and caring and concerned about their kids and their family and other people that they give themselves away sick. And you want to make sure you don't do the same thing. If you are under more financial stress than most of the people who are coming to you for care, you've got the equation backwards. You want to be in a state yourself that you can afford to tell the truth, that you can afford to be generous. And yeah, if you want to give care away or do whatever fee for service or whatever you're doing now that you know works, build that on top of the foundation of the confidence and certainty that you know each and every month, whatever level of your monthly recurring expenses are, you understand the brilliance, the genius, the smarts of generating monthly recurring revenue to meet that number. If your overhead's 50%, then you want to be generating 50% of your revenue, monthly recurring revenue. If you're got your expenses low and your income high, it's only 15, 20, 25%. First of all, good for you. And second of all, that's your goal for generating monthly recurring revenue. That's how it works. If you want to eliminate your monthly financial stress that most people suffer, regardless of how big of a practice, I don't care if you're a $100,000 a year practice, $1 million a year practice, or multiple $1 million a year practice, if you're not generating monthly recurring revenue in order to meet your monthly recurring expenses, I assure you, you feel financial stress, and hope is not a strategy. Be smart, follow the payday practice principles. That's what we're suggesting you do to stabilize your chiropractic revenue.
Jason, thank you for breaking that down and really helping docs understand the concepts behind recurring revenue so that then they can take those steps needed to implement. And stabilizing revenue and income is incredibly important. In so many practices, revenue and income are directly proportional. And being able to open up a new business line, a new vertical, being able to create recurring revenue, as you said, can help not only decrease the stress, which is a lifestyle plus in and amongst itself, but it can also offer some separation. It can make your practice less vulnerable. It can give you so many tremendous new opportunities to really utilize the skill set by teaching and inviting consistently. You don't need to think about recurring revenue. I'm going to encourage you, you shouldn't think about recurring revenue in terms of sales. This is really about serving and understanding who is your ideal patient. What are they purchasing relative to healthcare? Everybody is. And is that something that makes sense in your practice? And one of the best ways to do it is with our line of Basis Health supplements, which we recently launched with our Smart Care store system. Everybody, every day supplements. We know 80% of people coming into chiropractic practices are purchasing supplements, many of them low quality, dubious origin, you name it. So being able to guide and direct to your own online store or providing those services that you do fee for service model, but building out a membership program around it. That's another way to approach it. There's an array of ways you can approach this. We're going to talk much more about this as we continue to unfold the story of the payday practice. But the most important thing for you listening and watching right now is just to start feeling out these concepts. If it's new to you, it might seem a little scary, it might seem a little intimidating, it might seem like it's not for you. We're going to encourage subscribe, click the notifications, stay involved in this show week in and week out, because I'll personally guarantee as we continue to unfold the story, I am sure you are going to find something in this realm that makes sense to you, can benefit your patients, and can really change the trajectory of your practice. Jason?
You said it. I want to make sure people are hearing this, because this is not just a, nifty idea. It is your life. And here's what I mean by that. You mentioned this. I just want to dig deeper into it. There will be a day. I don't know what day that will be, but there will be a day that for some reason you're not able to generate revenue being over your table. You may choose to move. You may want to sell your practice. You may get injured. You may want to retire. You may want to take some time off. There may be another pandemic. There will be some reason at some point, I guarantee you, that you're unable to generate revenue by being over a table, which is how chiropractors generate revenue. So if you are a long-term thinker, like we keep saying, then reverse engineer your future. Think about whatever your future goals might be. And I have been, and I know many, maybe most chiropractors that fear the day that they have to start over somewhere else, or don't have the right insurances in place and have an injury, or somehow wish they didn't have to be in a specific location for so long. Maybe you want to continue to provide care, but somewhere else. The idea of starting over with zero income is daunting and paralyzes most chiropractors to stay where they are and suffer. So not only does it eliminate your financial stress today so you can have freedom forever, it is an insurance policy for your future. If you follow our instructions and you understand really the psychology of all of this, you have ultimate freedom for the rest of your career. And again, there's no one way to do this. You can sell your services with your hands, you can sell your knowledge with your mind, or you can sell your favorite things that people are buying anyway. We'll show you the details on how to do those things, but I just want to make sure this is the reason Jeff and I have really sort of focused and specifically focused our messaging, our business, to be able to help chiropractors with this specific issue is because, like subluxations are the major cause of most people's health concerns. Financial stress is the number one cause of most chiropractors. Burnout, frustration, and lack of ability to be of ultimate generous service to those people who want the care they can have the most. You are not doing your best work if you are financially stressed, and there is a solution to that. Handle the finances so you don't need the money, and you can afford to provide the care to the people you want to the people you don't want to, with the payers you want to, with the payers you don't want to, and you have control and freedom of the choices you get to make in the future. That's our way of helping you help more people. That's our vision, and that's why you will hear us for many months and years to come hammering this concept, because the number one most important thing holding our profession back, holding your practice back, is financial stress. If you could afford to share your truth without having to go, but what am I going to get in return? But because you know it's the right thing, then you will collect people who agree with you over time, and you will find that you have a stronger base of loyal people who want to be with you for the long run, which gets you off this treadmill, this trap, this roller coaster, revolving door style practice of people coming in and people leaving, because most people think you go to the chiropractor to get rid of your symptoms and leave. And as long as that continues to be the case, because we continue to put that message out there, we are going to, I think, be the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again expecting some sort of different outcome or result. So pay attention. Monthly recurring revenue, MRR, is the name of the game. Stay tuned for more information. If you've got questions, leave them down below. If you want more information, check out the Payday Practice ebook.
Great show today, Jason. I want to bring us both up on the screen here. A couple big standouts to me are interview with Jerome. Great guy doing great things. Also, if you're just tuning in now, please rewind to the Mindset Mentor segment talking about the infinite game. Super powerful, a lot of actionable information, and really setting your vision for what's possible in the future. Couple shout outs also. If you have not subscribed or enabled notifications to stay up to date on the show each Tuesday, please do that right now. That is the easiest way to know when we are going live and to stay plugged into each and every segment. Also, second shout out, be on the lookout for interviews by the Smart Chiropractor. All of our featured guests we're going to have in a podcast form coming out in April. So we'll talk much more about that as we shore up the details. We were looking at some of the guest list is incredible. And we're looking at some of the pages our team's been creating behind the scenes and they look awesome. So be on the lookout for that. And finally, if you have not checked out the Smart Chiropractor yet, if you're not yet a member, head over to smartchiropractor.com. All of the concepts that we talk about, teach and invite consistently, monthly campaigns, weekly topics, daily posts through all those superpower channels, Google Business, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you don't want to deal with it, we're happy to do that with you. And I say with you because we'll also give you a lot of the tools that you can utilize to take an active role and really get best results. I guess tying that back to our member highlight, Dr. James Chapman doing a great job using LinkedIn. Jason, shout outs, comments, feedback on today's show. I thought it was another great episode.
Another great episode. Listen, there's a lot to learn. It's not that difficult. Nobody can say, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy to invest in your future. I'm not going to reiterate what we did, watch the segments, but I will ask you to do this. Engage with us, okay? This is designed to be a conversation, not just a lecture, and we want to hear from you. So if you liked something, please let us know. What was the number one thing you got from today's show? Maybe if you want to add more, but give me one. Give me something that is a takeaway that we know you're listening and that you're paying attention and getting something out of it. Number two, if there's people that, if you want to be interviewed, if you've been doing something great and you're a member and we haven't seen it yet and we want to highlight you, let us know. You can either let us know in the comments or private message us. We're doing our best to pay attention to everybody out there, but we probably miss a few people doing great things. So reach out, let us know what you're doing. If you know a company, a group, or somebody that would be appropriate for our interviews, not just our highlights of practicing chiros, but interviews of something that can help all of us as smart chiropractors, make a recommendation. Again, do it down in the comments, private message us if you'd like to, but really engage with us. We're not stopping. We are teaching and inviting consistently, and we're going to share with you the principles that are going to help you help more people, not just help you raise more money so you can buy a nicer, newer car and all that stuff. Those are all byproducts. Believe me, I love nice stuff. And there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. But I do know that the way we've collectively been doing this as a profession hasn't gotten most people there. So these are new ideas and new ways of thinking for today's world. No bad, everybody's got good intentions, but I assure you what your mentor taught you to got them successful in the decades past is not the same as what's going to get you successful in today's world and in the future. The world is upside down if you have not noticed and you're not paying attention. Everything is different, including how you need to be connecting and communicating with your current clients, with your inactive clients, with your community, with your health tribe, and with probably soon to be your local media. Our goal is to have thousands of chiropractors who have the abundance to give, love, and serve, to share the truth of not just what chiropractic is, but what you do as a chiropractor, specifically in your office. And we know that that diversity is a gift, that we're all not the same. We don't all fit under one title because we don't all do one thing. So engage, have fun. We hope you're enjoying the process. Give us your feedback. If you liked it, great. Most importantly, please subscribe. Join our tribe. Tune in every Tuesday to tune up your practice and your life. Jeff, I just want to acknowledge you for just doing the Herculean work it takes to put these shows together. And of course, we got to acknowledge our team, who just is the motor and the engine that just makes all this happen for hundreds of chiropractors, soon thousands of chiropractors with your help. And I'll close with one last request, which is if you are a Smart Chiropractor member right now and you know what we do and you love what we do, share it with a friend or 5 or 10. Let them know the opportunity that's out there, that they're just not sure enough. Most of us are going to say yes to something that a friend or colleague is using and getting great results with before that guy selling them something. So help us, help you, help them, however that works. But if you know that this is great stuff, and I know you know it is, please, we're asking, make a concerted effort to let those other chiropractors know. Leave a testimonial down below if you'd like. Share the show with other people. Send an email to your favorite chiropractors with a link. Watch this show and subscribe. Help us help the profession get to where we all want it to go. Until next week, thanks for watching.
That's it. We're going to have fun. We invite you to come along for the ride. We guarantee you'll learn something in the process. Comment, subscribe, let us know how we can serve you at a higher level. And docs, have an awesome week. For Dr. Jason and our entire team, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on another episode of the Smart Chiropractor Show. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.